So I just try to cultivate a sense of agency amongst the students to just take seriously how fortunate they are to be in college and to have the opportunity to try to make their lives better.
Welcome back to another episode of the Missoula podcast. In studio today with Justin Engel. Justin, how are you, man?
I'm good. Good to be here, fellas.
We, Justin and I, our paths have kind of crossed through two different routes. One, he's the host of a New Angle podcast here in Missoula. And then Justin and I both had the opportunity to be on the TEDx stage in 2024 together and met there. And for some reason, they got two Missoula podcasters on that stage together. But Justin, before we dive into your story, all kinds of just crazy big ideas and really a thought leader in Missoula, how did a guy like you end up here in Missoula, Montana?
Oh man, how long's your show? Kind of by accident, and I feel super fortunate to have landed here. It's such an amazing place to live and raise a family and work and do all the things. I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in New Hampshire, went to college in Philadelphia, met my future wife there. We moved around a fair bit after college, sometime in California, sometime back in Philly, Connecticut, Boston. She grew up in Seattle. So we moved to Seattle at one point in the plot. And that's where I did graduate school at the University of Washington. And coming out of grad school in 2012, I had an offer here at the University of Montana and an offer at a university in San Diego. And with two little kids, and I like getting into the mountains, and I grew up in a smaller town. This just felt like a better spot.
That's a tough choice, San Diego.
Yeah, but Missoula. San Diego felt like a sunny version of Seattle, right? It was like once you kind of get past the weather, I was like, this is just a big city, and I'm going to be chasing it. Probably in the lower end of the income distribution in Southern California, and a lot of time in the car, a lot of time thinking about how I can get into real estate and as far as buying a house.
Right.
Now Missoula's changed a lot, but like in 2012, it was a different real estate market. I was able to find a place and feel pretty fortunate about that.
Justin, take me back to growing up in New Hampshire. What did your childhood look like? What did your folks do? And for a couple of Montanans that don't know what the East Coast is like, what was that experience like?
Yeah. So my childhood, the stereotypes of the East Coast are often grounded in the cities out there, Boston, New York, DC, et cetera. But I grew up in a small town, about 5,000 people. My high school had fewer than 400 kids. And just great small town, very similar culturally to Montana as far as there's New Hampshire kind of has a libertarian streak, a version of conservatism in that way, or at least that's the way it was, 30, 40 years ago. And played three sports, sort of, it's a town where everybody knows your name and you know their name and everybody knows your business. And there's the good and bad that comes with that. So a lot of cultural similarities to Montana in some ways.
What did your parents do?
Yeah, my dad was a salesman. He sold paint and paint supplies. Like he was a manufacturer's rep in the painting industry. And my mom worked for the state government. Our version of job service, it's in New Hampshire, it was called employment security. So she ran the organization that helped people sort of make it from one job to the next and collect the unemployment benefits they were entitled to in between jobs and so forth.
Growing up, what was your dream? Who did you want to be? What did you want to become?
Oh, man. I guess it was split between two things. Like part of me wanted to be Michael Jordan, but I knew that wasn't a possibility. Sure. And then my grandfather was a banker. He had a big influence on me. He built a small bank and then just continued to sell into larger banks. And by the time I was kind of in my formative years, they had, he was on the board of Bank of America and so forth. And so I was highly identified, it's like I'm going into the finance industry and going to work on Wall Street and that sort of thing. And that's part of why I chose the University of Pennsylvania and the business school there and the finance program there. It was kind of the path I thought I was on was that of some financier. Yeah.
So you mentioned that was the path you thought you were on.
Yeah.
Where did it take a different turn?
I think once I got to school at Wharton, I was interested in the material, like the finance stuff really interested me. But the urban Wall Street kind of culture, the school I went to was like a pipeline into Wall Street. And I just didn't like that scene, the people, the culture, the density of New York in particular. And so I bailed on that and moved to San Francisco. And I got into the bond markets, but I was working for a small company in Marin County. So kind of a small, right next to San Francisco, but a smallish firm with a bunch of guys that were similar. They're like, we like finance, but we don't like living in a big city. And so it was a nice place to land.
For people that aren't familiar with the finance market like myself, what is the bond market? What does that mean? What were you doing for like a day-to-day job?
That's a big question. Bond market's big. The little sliver of it I occupied was mortgage-backed securities, that genre of securities that kind of destroyed the economy back in 2008. So our clients were mortgage originators, and we helped hedge the risk they held in their origination portfolio. So meaning, when a bank goes into an agreement to issue you a loan, they're taking on some amount of risk because between the time where you agree to the terms and the time when the loan closes, interest rates can go up and down. And so the bank is exposed to some amount of risk there. And we manage the risk for those banks by buying and selling futures contracts on mortgage-backed bonds, but also buying and selling options and whatever other contracts we could think of to hedge the risk of those loan origination pipelines.
Justin, you mentioned buying real estate in Missoula in 2012. If you would have been here in 2008, you could have got a screaming deal.
Yeah, probably.
On a house here in Missoula. Let me tell you.
As it were, I feel like my house was a pretty good deal relative to right now. Yeah,
for sure. So from San Francisco, where'd life take you?
So that job in San Francisco, I was working New York hours. So 4:30 in the morning to about 2 in the afternoon. And I rode crew in college. It's not much of a sport out here, but it was fairly big back east. And that was really where my passion was. And so when I was working in San Francisco in the afternoons, I was coaching a high school rowing team. And after 4 years of that, I thought, this coaching thing is really pretty compelling. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy working with young people trying to find themselves and achieve. And so I kind of abruptly quit the bond markets, took about a 90% pay cut, moved back east, got a job at the University of Pennsylvania with my old coach as an assistant there, was there a couple of years coaching full time, and then moved over to Yale for a couple of years. And that was not the dream shot I thought it was quite going to be. Coaching at the collegiate level is filled with a bunch of other stuff other than coaching that I didn't quite love. And kind of abruptly left that, moved to Seattle, where my wife at the time wanted to be. Like I said, her family was there, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I just was working in a running shoe store and enrolled in the MBA program at University of Washington. And pretty soon into that program, I started looking at my professors thinking, those look like pretty good jobs. How do I get one of those? And the guy who was my eventual advisor was like, well, you got to do a PhD and it's a long road and here's what it's about. And I gave it a shot and it stuck.
Wow.
Yeah.
During that season where you're making some pretty good money and then you go into a passion of coaching and you're not making so much money and then you go into college where you're definitely not making any money, was that a lot of stress on the family during that time as you're trying to get educated and
go
through that?
To some degree, I think, we I had made some good choices with that first job, and our firm was acquired at one point in that. And I didn't have like that kind of money to just sort of peace out, but enough to take a chance on the coaching. And then when I was in grad school, He was able to get a scholarship for the MBA. So that defrayed some of the costs. My wife at the time was working. She had a good job. And so we could kind of make it work. We didn't have kids at that point. And then PhD school, you make a little bit of money. You don't incur any debt, at least in the program I was in. I did some teaching, I did some consulting, some hustling. So it wasn't without stress, but I feel pretty fortunate that we were able to piece it together and ultimately land here. Good job in a good town with pretty much no education debt. I feel really fortunate about that.
What was your focus of your PhD?
Yeah, so my PhD is largely in social psychology. So I'm interested in how people construct and manage their identity through their consumption behaviors. That's what my dissertation was about. Marketing was my home discipline in business, but I'm not much of a marketer, right? The research in marketing, there's different areas of it, but the area I'm in is sort of applied social psych. So I spent much more time in the psych department than I did in the business school when I was a grad student.
And when you moved to Missoula and get this teaching job, professor job, did it match what you were expecting as far as like, that's a pretty good job? I've found what I have been looking for.
I mean, to some degree, I came from a school that was really research focused, and the business school here at the University of Montana is more balanced between research and teaching. So that was a little bit of a calibration, although I really enjoy teaching and I wanted that kind of balance. But being here was the first time I sort of lived it. As a grad student, I taught 1 or 2 classes and did a ton of research. So just a balance of the activities. But I think Missoula really delivered as far as being an amazing town to build a family.
What's that like? Like, how does you land a job, first job as a professor, school starts, you go into the lecture hall that first day in August. What do you do? Like, what do you say? Like, where does a guy start year one?
It's pretty wild how, for somebody like me and most people that come out of like big research schools, you get very little teaching or training in teaching.
Sure.
Right.
It's almost shocking how little you get prepared to teach college class. That said, the material, right? And because of that, you're sort of trusted to like, hey, go do it. And, fortunately, in our culture here at the University of Montana, we've got a very generous group of folks. They gave me all their materials relevant to the courses I was assigned to teach. And so I felt supported in that way, like I had access to a wealth of expertise and experience. But yeah, to your point, like you show up day one and you're like, okay, it's me in front of the classroom. Here we go.
Yeah.
And I figured it out.
How nervous were you for the first day of school?
Probably not as nervous as I should have been. I started getting a little nervous later on in the semester, thinking like, oh my gosh, is this class going where I need it to go?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you learned a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Year one.
Yeah, so much. Like mostly just culturally. Like I learned, what Montana kids are like, because most of our students are from Montana. And, I didn't really have much knowledge of the state and the place and the culture coming in. So it was really eye-opening. And, University of Montana is a great place in that it's pretty accessible. Like we're at a low price point. We're not quite open enrollment, but if you want to put the effort into being a college student, you can make it into the University of Montana. Whereas I kind of came up through somewhat fancy schools that had an exclusive admissions policy and so forth. And as a result, you kind of get accustomed to certain, level of entitlement amongst students. And moving here, it was just like, wow, these kids are just hard workers. They, there's no BS. They just want to learn the stuff, do their work. And there's a humility coupled with a really just genuine work ethic that struck me right away. And it's, that impression has just continued to strengthen over the last 14 years of doing it.
Being in the business school, what courses do you teach?
I've taught a lot of courses over the years. My primary course now that I've been teaching the last 7 years is called the Business Safari. So I teach our freshman introductory class. So it's like 200 freshmen in a room. welcome to college. Here we go. And so it's a little bit of business, but, I pretty much smuggle in my thoughts on how to put together a good life and how to approach this wonderful opportunity that is college.
That's amazing. Let's jump into our rapid fire questions and we'll get back to it. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What was your first initial memory of Missoula, Montana?
First memory was driving through. So I was moving from the from the East Coast to Seattle, driving through Missoula with a U-Haul truck and a car on a trailer, and we got a flat, probably out in the 9 Mile. And I remember we called like Les Schwab or something, and this big old boy came out in the tow truck and fixed that flat. Like it was like 100 degrees, and he fixed it with one hand, it felt like. And I was just amazed at this like cowboy that just was fearless on the side of I-90 and helped us out. And it was AAA, so I couldn't pay him anything. And I was just like, I have 3 beers in the car. Here you go, buddy. Thank you for saving us, because we would have been stranded without you. That was my impression. Just like, wow, people here seem really nice.
It's not a rapid fire question, but how was that drive? I mean, Interstate 90 across America in a U-Haul.
Yeah, it was rugged. One of my closest friends is a mover. So whenever I need to move, I call him and he helps out. So he did the heavy lifting and most of the driving. But that was a lot. Feel like you put your whole life in a truck and then you have a car and a trailer behind. Yeah. It's a big load. Yeah.
Justin, what's your favorite coffee shop here in Missoula?
Drum Coffee, South Avenue. Yes.
What's your favorite restaurant?
Gosh, I saw this question. It used to be the Red Bird. Love the Red Bird. Then it closed. Then it was Scotty's Table. Then it closed. And now I just have to say Rattlesnake Patio, because I love what Barrett and Karen are up to up there. Super good folks.
What do you love the most about Missoula?
I love the people. And I think I love the access to wild spaces. You just go out your door, both at my office and at my house, and be on the trails and into wilderness areas super fast. And it's just a wonderful balance of all the things.
What's the weirdest thing about Missoula?
Oh man. The Wild Walk Parade, maybe. Yeah. You see some odd stuff. Fun, but odd.
Justin, is there a particular book you've read that has made a significant impact on your life?
Gosh, so many. Yeah. I don't know where to start. Probably the one I go back to the most is a book called Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. He's an historian, but he had this perspective on religion that really stuck with me, kind of expanding the definition of religion to just sort of include all of our belief systems and a lot of the things we take as default assumptions in our lives, like capitalism as a religion, human rights as a religion. And it just helped me understand that like these are concepts that we as humans we thought them up, right? They didn't exist. Like human rights, we kind of think of as a thing,
right? But
it's a made up thing. And it only exists to the extent we believe in it. And so that book kind of expanded does a bunch of other stuff too, but basically that notion of concepts that we think of as religions was clarifying for me.
Congratulations, you made it through the rapid fire questions.
Wow. Made it.
Yeah, are we good? We need to take a break or?
I think I'm good.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's jump back into teaching a little bit. What do you think is the most valuable lesson or guidance that you give these young freshmen in that opening class that you teach them?
Yeah. What I try to impress upon these students is to take seriously the investment they're making, to view this not only the time, but the effort they're making as an investment in themselves. And so many kids, I feel like they end up in the college classroom, not mindlessly, but sort of feeling like it's either the next thing to do, like I finish high school, I go to college, or because it stands between them and some outcome they want. Like I need to go to college to do this job or have this life or whatever. But I don't think many students take seriously that, whoa, this is an investment. These years will go by and involves way more than just what happens in the classroom. And I need to be really, or I can't, if I am mindful about this time, that there's a lot I can get out of it. So I just try to cultivate a sense of agency amongst the students to just take seriously how fortunate they are to be in college and to have the opportunity to try to make their lives better.
Justin, you're going into, if my math's right, your 13th year at the University of Montana?
Yeah, I think it'll be 14.
14 years?
Yeah.
Why do you keep coming back? What is it about teaching?
Oh, man, it keeps you young, man. Like I'm getting older, but the students stay the same age. They're at the same stage of life. Every class is different. The world is changing super fast. Like anything, the stuff you need to know to be skilled and build a career in business is always changing. We got a lot of big problems in the world. Right?
I got a business question for you.
Okay.
Here we are, 2025. What is something in business that a significant change you have seen from, a belief you had that you taught 10 years ago, where you now teach your belief has changed on a business topic? Does that make sense?
Gosh, I've really come to think that writing is super important. And that, you might think of that as ironic in the sense that AI is perhaps displacing a lot of writing skills. But it took a long time for it to occur to me that oftentimes what you write in an email or whatever is the only representation of you that some other person on the other side of a communication has. And taking that seriously in how you represent yourself, but also how you communicate an idea. That lesson, I thought when I first started teaching, I thought it was like, I got to get the students to know all these facts and things. But at the end of the day, it's like, I need to get students to know how to think, speak, and write.
Right.
And the job, it just feels much more, or the teaching part of the job feels much more simple now.
So as you've taught and had the opportunity to, have a great career at the University of Montana, we know that you've gone different directions, maybe into podcasting or radio shows. Tell us a little bit about how that occurred or how you got the idea for that.
Sure. So back in 2017, I was tasked with taking one of our classes, Principles of Marketing, building an online version of it. And I had been using podcasts more and more as substitutes for reading in my course materials. And students really got into them and engaged in them. And I think part of it is like a lot of students aren't so keen on reading. And, I can't begrudge that sentiment. I was reading less. I was listening to more things, audio books and podcasts and et cetera. And I just decided at the time, like most people teaching online courses were using videos. And unless you've got like a super fancy studio like you guys have, it's hard to make good videos. And I didn't want students to be tethered to a screen. So many of our students are, they're working multiple jobs, they're doing a bunch of things. I wanted to make accessible content. So it seemed like a podcast might be a useful way to structure an online course. So I did that. And as I was interviewing people, I thought, well, this is kind of fun and interesting. And probably as you guys have discovered, there's so many underground crushers in this town just doing amazing work. I was like, well, University of Montana is not doing an amazing job of telling a lot of positive stories back in 2017, 2018. So let's get these things out there. And kind of found a mic in a colleague's office, started interviewing people in my office using GarageBand on my laptop and slapping episodes together and throwing them out. And seemed like it resonated, as you guys have found out, like there's an audience for this stuff and people like it and feels good.
You're so right. I mean, we talked about this in, I think, episode 100, but one of the coolest parts is the connections, the people you meet, the amazing stories right here in our community that you would never know, you would never hear, but you walk by these people every day, you grab coffee at Drum and see them, and you have no idea how awesome these people are. And that's been really cool.
Yeah, that's what I love about your show is you guys just like tell stories that otherwise wouldn't be told. Like there's, as you said, there's so many people doing cool stuff and figuring out a way to make it go in this town, and they have a story. and shining a light on that story, that you can find something interesting and inspirational in all of them.
Tell us about A New Angle. Like what is the premise of your podcast? What's the goal? Who is A New Angle podcast?
Yeah. So the tagline from the start has been cool people doing awesome things in and around Montana. So that is sort of by definition a pretty wide net that we cast.
That's a lot better tagline than ours. So wow, good for you.
Well,
do we have a tagline?
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't think we even have one.
We can workshop that if you need it.
You can go back to business school and take some marketing classes.
Exactly.
Justin.
There you go. So similarly, Missoula's changed a little bit, actually a lot since 2018. But my sensation when I moved here and was finding my way in this town was like, wow, I am one of the lucky ones. Like I landed in a good job with a relatively high standard of living in a town where those sorts of jobs are not all that abundant.
Sure.
So many of the people I was getting to know were piecing together, they had one job, they had a side hustle, they had another part-time thing. They just were like putting together a portfolio career. It took a type of hustle to make it here. And I wanted to shine a light on that and kind of figure out how people were doing that. Plus, there, as you mentioned a few moments ago, there's all these people that like, they're doing world-class stuff and you never know it. I think the culture here is so amazing in that you could be rubbing elbows with an Olympian or a world-class artist or some amazing novelist, and you wouldn't really even know it because they just don't advertise it. It's not that type of culture. Yeah. And so finding those people and drawing those stories out. And then, also, the university's gone through some interesting times in the time I've been here. So I'm on the fringes of that with A New Angle. So I can kind of promote the university, but I can also call balls and strikes and just kind of operate in that space as, I try to be a good faith actor with regard to my relationship to the university and what I talk about and don't talk about. But it's a nice platform for that.
What do you find the most challenging part of hosting a podcast?
Finding the time to do it. Yeah. I mean, it's a side hustle. Yeah.
Where do you find your guests? What's your process?
I mean, that's the easiest part. I feel like there's 3 types for me. I'm fortunate by virtue of being, a professor and ingrained in the UM culture that if, amazing folks are coming through town, speaking on campus, visiting, whatever, I can often get a chance to interview them. There's folks on my list that I'm looking to interview. So I'm always chipping away at that. And then now the show's been around long enough that we get a fair number of referrals. And that's a great position to be in, as I'm sure you guys experience. And you got to make some hard choices, right? Because some people are, a fit and some are not. And those are sort of the 3 broad categories.
As much as there's some amazing people in Missoula, there's some crazy people in Missoula too. We've learned through the podcast.
Sure.
We just don't highlight those stories often enough.
Yeah.
Justin, do you ever get the emails from spam that, hey, congratulate you on being a top 25 podcast in Missoula? Yeah. Apparently we're top 25. We get that email often. I don't know if you've gotten that. I didn't either.
Yeah.
We didn't either.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're top 25 here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't know if you were included in that or.
I think so. Well, I have been, and it's a great leaderboard to be on. It's quite an honor.
Do you get all the spam emails too?
I feel like there's something going on recently where like some AI thing is happening where it's crawling. Cause I did a podcast with, I've done a few episodes on AI in the last couple months. And all of a sudden I'm getting this inbound like, hey, loved your episode with such and so about this and that. And that makes me think that, this person I'm promoting that has no connection to Montana or anything you do would be a great fit for your show. And it's like the scripted thing that
we're getting the same emails.
Yeah. They're super fun to just ignore.
Yeah. Well, if you ever get one of those guests on your show and they're a great fit, let us know.
I will.
Or we'll start referring them to you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not particularly optimistic. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Justin, since 2018, what have you learned or what has been like the most, the biggest shift in how you interview people? Or take us through that journey, I guess, of how you were at the beginning versus how you are now.
The interviews feel more spacious. Right. I think my approach has landed on, we have the same opening question every episode. Where'd you grow up? What did your parents do? That question is a tribute to Brian Kahn, Home Ground Radio, whose show occupied the same time on Montana Public Radio that we do now. Brian passed away in 2019, and that gave us our opportunity to take over that time slot. And so that question is both effective from a biographical standpoint. You get enough biography to understand somebody, but also it pays homage to his legacy. So that's always the first question. And then I just tend to I used to have things scripted, and now it's just like, here are the 3 things I want to cover. And maybe this has been your experience. I feel like the more of these you do, the more just spacious the conversations feel, the more I'm able to listen to what the guest is actually saying, and sometimes just let it unfold without a plan. Like, okay, I thought we were going to talk about X, Y, or Z, and the guest said something really interesting, and I wanted to press on that, and it went in a totally other direction, and it ended up being great.
We probably should have had you mentor us early on, because that's exactly, I think we came into this with, hey, we need a script, research, here's questions.
Yeah.
And it almost felt robotic and became robotic. And when we got rid of that and just asked open-ended questions and just treated it like just 3 guys grabbing a burger and just hanging out, and the conversation happens to be recorded, I felt like it just changed and just created that open space.
I think it adds an authenticity. And I think that's probably why you see guys like Rogan and Theo Vaughn and Andrew Schultz and some of these comedian types is super successful, because they can just create a relaxed hang environment, and it disarms people. And so the most interesting stuff in a Rogan episode happens in the 3rd hour,
right?
Because the guest is at ease, comfortable, and maybe lubed up a little bit, such that they just say some stuff that you might not expect.
Can you imagine doing a 3-hour episode?
I've kind of wanted to try
That's
it.
long.
I don't know if I could pull it off today with you guys.
Well,
we could try.
Let's go.
But I kind of have wanted to just see what happens. Yeah.
So you mentioned Rogan and Vaughn. Are there any other podcasts that you love to listen to? You tune in every week and just learn from? It doesn't even necessarily have to be something
my regular diet is, I really like what Sam Harris does. I like his platform. I think he talks a lot, but he's super eloquent. But I think he's a really good faith interviewer. I've been listening more and more to the Ezra Klein show the last few months. Enjoy that. Kind of enjoy how he's kind of trying to bring a critical eye to the Democratic Party at this moment, post-election. Not to get too into politics. What are my others? I like Michael Moynihan's show on Two Way. It's a YouTube show, but he's kind of this independent journalist that you can never put him into a box. I like people that you can't put into a box, that don't really adhere to any ideological label.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in this environment where people get categorized so easily and fall into their tribes, if you don't know where somebody stands and they're unpredictable, that's a sign of a good faith actor, in my view, at this moment.
That's been one of my favorite things about the Missoula podcast is there is so many unique people, and obviously in Missoula.
Totally.
So we don't even have to try. We just bring on people from all sorts of different sectors of life and beliefs, and it's been a blast. So what's next for Justin? I mean, we're teaching, we're doing the podcast. What are the big goals and dreams going forward for you?
Gosh, I feel like A New Angle is kind of, it's going well. I feel like we've got it to a point where, we can pump out episodes every week consistently. Our relationship with public radio, it airs on Montana Public Radio and Yellowstone Public Radio. I feel like that gives us a great audience. And it also gives us kind of a journalistic ethic that we have to adhere to. So I feel like we have the quality where we want it to be. I'm interested in doing more live events. So we did an event last week up at the Line Ranch in collaboration with Five Valleys. I interviewed 3 people who have recently published books on conservation in the area. And so it was a successful event. We got a couple hundred people out. I'd like to do more of those. A big theme of the show is the importance of social connection and building social capital. And so I feel like I kind of want to embody that in what the show does and try to bring people together. So that's an objective. Events are hard to produce. They take a lot of time and effort. So I've been hesitant to really dive in too much, but in the coming year or two, I want to do more of those. A few years back, I did a podcast in collaboration with some journalists about wildfire. It was a different project called Fireline. And it was a different type of show, a narrative podcast, kind of in the style of Radiolab, and or those types of shows. And that was a really rewarding experience. Big lift, but
I actually wanted to bring up your passion. I don't know if that's the right word, but
sure.
Your passion for wildfire.
Yeah.
Mentioned at the start of this episode, you and I crossing paths at TEDx.
Right.
I clearly remember where I was sitting at the venue backstage listening to you. And I thought, honestly, I was like, oh, TED Talk on wildfire. This is going to be predictable. Not at all. Like I would encourage people, go check out TEDx.com, find Justin's presentation. But some of the statistics, the studies, I came away so thought provoked. And even recently, there's been a couple of fires start up here, and I feel my mind going to oh no, should we put that out or let it burn because of your TED Talk? What is it about forest fire and that you're so passionate about?
At first, it was just ignorance, right? Like I moved here, I didn't know anything about wildfire, hadn't really been exposed to it, and then it's like super salient. It's like, whoa, it's smoky, and colleagues are getting evacuated. It's happening. And so there was that. And then there was the realization that, man, some of the best people in the world working in this space live right here. Like tip of the spear smoke jumpers, the low hotshots, the fire scientists, the faculty at the College of Forestry and Conservation, like some of the most important work in the world on wildfires happening here. And I was meeting these people and also realizing that like the way we talk about it or the way we get information about it in the media or whatever, like it's really difficult to make sense of. All this weird vocabulary, type 1 this, type 2 this, strike team that, direct attack this. I was like, what the hell are they talking about? And so that was kind of the impetus of like, okay, I want to learn more about this thing. And then it seemed like it was hard to learn more about it because so many people are so deep in their expertise that they're doing amazing work, but it's hard to translate from where they are to folks like us that maybe don't know as much. So it felt like there would be an opportunity. And as I learned more about it, I also came to believe that, so much of our conversations about climate change and that topic just feels so dire. Like it's an unsolvable problem. The world is going to hell and we can't control it and blah, blah, blah. We're hopeless. The fire is a problem we can actually solve. Like there's a lot of things we can do to make our homes and our communities more resilient to wildfire. There's a lot of things we can do to manage our landscape more effectively. Like it's a problem that I believe is solvable. And that's a big, scary problem, but it's one that is solvable. And it's one that requires tools that don't cut across a lot of the ideological categories that we currently have. Like to solve wildfire, it's going to require, some stuff that people on the left like, some prescribed burning and things like that. And it's going to require some stuff that people on the right tend to like mechanical treatments, logging, etc. So it kind of requires all the tools in the kit, individual agency, like take care of your own house and also be a good neighbor. And so these cultural aspects to it are really compelling to me. It makes me.
Well, I remember coming away. I mean, the purpose of TED was to, challenge the way you think or the status quo. And I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a different way of thinking just because I was so ignorant. And
that fire, because you're up in the south.
I'm South Hill. So
is that Deer Fire near you guys?
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm over on the Miller Creek side.
Yeah. But still, I mean, a lot of fire in that space over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's real. Like there's a ton of terrain out there that, maybe we make sure it doesn't get towards houses, but there's probably some benefit in letting some of it burn. So yeah, these questions are live right in our backyard.
It's a complicated topic, isn't it?
Indeed.
Which is probably why you tackled it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a couple final questions and we'll get you back to your busy life. I'm sure you got some stuff going on, but
He's a professor. It's summer. He has nothing going on right
I don't
now.
have a care in the world.
Okay, you're chilling. Never mind.
How nervous are you for the first day of school?
At this point, not very. Although I do say, like, it is my class is packed. It is always over. Well, it isn't always, but it has gotten to the point where it's over enrolled. Like the first day, we have people sitting on the floor because they want to get in. So it's really exciting, and it is a little nerve wracking. Like, and I tell the students that, like, hey, I do this all the time, but getting up in front of 200 of you and one of me, like, it's still, I get some butterflies.
That's awesome.
And I feel like that is both true, and it helps kind of lighten the mood and gives me some street cred with them a little bit.
Like you're a normal dude.
I don't know how normal I am, but I pretend sometimes.
What? Well, I'll go there. Why do you think your class is overbooked? Or
Okay, probably I can pump myself up, but it's a required class for all business majors, and it is a part of the Gen Ed curriculum. So, but I do think it's developed a reputation as like, okay, that's a useful class to take. Sure. I learned a little bit of business. It's kind of fun. Get some cool guest speakers, talk about some cool stuff. We do projects that are useful. So I do think it has a positive reputation.
Are you a hard professor, or do the students like you?
I don't know if hard. I don't know if hard or easy. Basically, my philosophy around that is, if you show up to class and are a good citizen, you'll probably get a B. If there's an easy path, like just be a good faith actor, you'll get a B. Yeah. You got to try pretty hard to get an A. And similar to that, like if you want to get a C or below, you have to try as well. Like you have to make a choice that you don't want to do well.
Oh. It's probably a good standard to have.
Seems like appropriate for an intro
I like it.
class.
I wish all my professors were like that back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day.
I probably wouldn't be podcasting if I had better grades.
I don't know. It's a pretty good outcome.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say thank you for being a trailblazer here in Missoula and doing what you do, obviously with the students on campus, but for Brandon and I on just doing something that's hard and finding guests, and we've looked up to you from afar, and it's it's kind of cool to have you on our show, and just appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And like I said before, I love the aspect of just telling stories from normal folks that we can all hook into and find inspiration. So I really appreciate what you guys are up to. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Justin, thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank
you,
you.
man.